Today, I'm excited to talk to our very first guest, Dr. Ashwin Mehta. He's the Director of Integrative Medicine at Memorial Healthcare System, and he's going to be talking to us today about self-care as it relates to healthcare professionals. First up, healthcare providers. Often, they're of the mindset that they should give of themselves no matter what the situation they're facing. And often, unfortunately, it's at the detriment of their own well-being and health. This phenomenon is not exclusive to anything that's happening now, but it's fairly typical even in normal times. So, Dr. Mehta, my first question is, how does the COVID-19 crisis impact the situation, and what makes it so different for healthcare providers?
Really, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. And I think this uncertainty is what is fueling the anxiety and fear about this current crisis. When I'm counseling people regarding fear in our integrative medicine clinic, it's usually in the context of cancer survivorship, and people are concerned about whether their cancer is going to come back or not. And, the way I describe this spectrum of anxiety to them is that on one end of the spectrum, there's reasonable concern. There's, there's really founded and acceptable worry.
Mm-hmm.
On the other end of the spectrum, there is disabling and paralyzing fear.
Mm.
And so to the extent that we can actually make sure that our behaviors, our patterns of thinking, our practices help us end up on the reasonable concern end of the spectrum, it's really important, to not let this fear grip us and grab a hold of us. It's also important to recognize that fear is at its very core our innate survival mechanism. And to a certain extent, it's even useful.
Yes.
There's a lot that we still don't know about this virus. In the midst of this pandemic, people have lost their lives. People have lost their livelihoods. Children are at home and learning how to do school through the internet in a very different environment. There are likely increased feelings of loneliness and isolation during this time. So there's innumerable changes coming at us. And in the midst of this uncertainty, we really need to acknowledge our fears and anxieties first and foremost. Practices like mindfulness and meditation can make us more aware of our emotions. So that we can more objectively decide which sentiments are lending to behaviors and patterns of thinking that are constructive and which are not so constructive. In the context of this innate survival response that is fear, how can we anchor ourselves to handle these challenges more adeptly? And at the same time, we need to identify certain health practices that keep us feeling more grounded in this time of uncertainty.
Certainly. And we're going to talk about some health practices that healthcare providers can take in a little bit.